What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the all-new generation 2022 Audi A3. Big shout out and thank you to Audi Greenville for providing this little sedan for today's video. Definitely take a look at their website, linked down below. And the model that we're looking at today is the 40 TFSI front-wheel drive, finished off in Ibis White, and has an MSRP at $36,800. Underneath the hood of the 2022 Audi A3, you're going to find a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine pumping out 201 horsepower with 221 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission and sends the power to the front wheels on this particular spec. All-wheel drive is available. Curb weight is around 3,500 pounds and it runs on a 14.5 gallon fuel tank, so you're looking at 29 miles per gallon in the city with 34 out on the highway. Overall length is 176.9 inches with wheelbase at 103.5, width is 71.5, and height is 56.2 inches. And then now moving on to the exterior styling with the newest generation Audi A3. This has a really sporty design to it and it's Audi's smallest sedan. If we take a look at these headlights, you can see the chrome along the housing along with some dark silver. They are LED. We get some sharp lines throughout this front bumper and a really cool area on the far side housing a parking sensor and silver trim. You can see the black trim as well as the body color going through the front splitter of this front bumper. And then all this dark gray trim for the entire grille. Has a very nice mesh design. You can see chrome along the Audi logo along with chrome around all of the trim. We get sharp lines all throughout the hood that fade their way towards the windshield. And I think Audi does a good job styling this to have an athletic look. This A3 gets a set of 18-inch wheels in all 4 corners, finished off in a really cool split 5-spoke. They have machined silver as well as gunmetal gray. You can see a sharp line running around the front wheel arch and a sharp one cutting towards the inside of these doors. You can also see a really sharp design for the lower section of the door panels. We get body color mirror caps with an integrated LED turn signal and some black trim below that. We get more of that polished silver along all the windows with black for the B pillar. The front section of the roof is all finished off in glass, and then you get body colored in back with a gloss black shark fin antenna. We get body colored door handles, and I just love the profile you're gonna see on the A3. It's really sporty, really compact. I think they come together really nicely, very proportional front and back. You also get that same sharp line cutting towards the rear and then even leaving this rear fender arch. So I like the little design elements to it. You get a nice bulge in the front and rear fender arch to give it a wider appearance. Then you can see these LED taillights that have a really nice look finished in red. We get the chrome Audi logo along with A3 on the far left, and then really sharp lines all throughout the rear bumper. You can see some more of that silver trim down below with a plastic area for the diffuser, parking sensors on the farthest corner with reflectors, and a nice trim piece to tie it all together. So there's a good look at the exterior with some of the specs on the new generation Audi A3. I've always been a fan of these cars, especially the first gen S3s and RS3s, and of course you can still get the S3 and RS3 on the current generation. But even the little A3 is a great affordable option to get into the brand. And then to go ahead and take a look at the interior, we have Audi's new key fob. All you have to do is tap the unlock button, and then grab the door handle and check out this interior. This Audi A3 features a full black leather interior with a little bit of silver trim all throughout it. You can see the door panel finished off in black. We get a nice silver trim piece leading all the way to the release handle, lock and unlock, your grab handle down below that with mirror controls, window controls, and then the child locks for the back. You get some storage down below and a trunk release button, a little bit of silver trim on the door sill, and then all the power controls are on the left side of the seat. We have extra buttons for all the lumbar support. You get the nice smooth black leather with all this contrast stitching, and I really like along the backrest you're going to see more of the stitching and then even some gray Alcantara to really tie in this upscale design. Spinning around to the black leather steering wheel with a 3-spoke look and the brushed aluminum Audi logo right in the center. And then now in the A3, keeping my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and fire it up. This car gets a full digital LCD display for the gauge cluster. You can see the tach over on the left with engine temperature, your speedometer and fuel is on the right. The center is also configurable using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. We have left and right, view, and then a scroller dial. So if we take a look in here and start scrolling down this left menu, you can see consumption, short-term memory, all sorts of trip information within the car. Toggling over, you can see audio. Then going into this, you can see your phone as well. So you get a few things in here, driver's assistance. Tapping the view icon just kind of darkens it a little bit to get it out of the way. Your navigation will also come up if available. Taking a look at the steering wheel now, we get some Bluetooth and audio controls on the right, and then a small set of steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. We get the turn signal stock on the left side, along with cruise control down below that, and on the right side we have all your windshield wiper controls. To the left of the steering wheel, we get a little area with some extra storage, some of that silver trim, headlight controls, and one of the air vents. All black running across the dashboard, and I like this cool rubber material with this stitching design. It has a nice little sporty touch. You can see more air vents on the far right that have a really good design, Audi logo, and a really large silver trim piece. And then if we take a look at the infotainment screen right in the center, pretty typical what you're going to see in all of the Audis. You can see radio icons, navigation will come up as well. You can go back to your home screen, scroll through all sorts of different things, see different settings within the car, a main screen with a few things that are adjustable. You have icons right here for all of your radio. Volume is going to be this dial down below, kind of like an old school iPod. Pretty neat the way it's all set up. We have more controls for different things that are connected, your phone integration, and then another one for smartphone. And then if we go ahead and take the car, push us up into reverse, get a backup camera over on the left side with the parking sensors that pop up, as well as guidelines. Then go back into park. Beneath the screen, we do get a full LCD screen for the climates, and then we get all the toggles underneath that to adjust. We can go through different settings for all these settings on the climate control, your fan speed as well. You do get dual zone. You can easily adjust all that, same with your different zones. I like how this is all laid out. We get the heated seats, as well as some more climate controls and defrost on the right. And then beneath that, there's a few more toggles for your drive select. Toggling this, it goes into a few different drive modes. You can either toggle this, or you can use touchscreen and just automatically go right into it. We do have traction control, engine start stop, and then a little bit of storage down below with 2 USBs. You can see the piano black all here for your shift surround. Has a really nice look, pretty modern design with the short piece. Then you can see the electronic parking brake at 12 volt, a little bit of storage, as well as 2 cup holders, and then a nice sized armrest. Opening that up, we have a pretty decent amount of space in here for maybe a phone or two. And then if we go ahead and close this down, we can even slide this forward for a little bit extra armrest. And then on the far right side, we can take a look at the glove box. Pretty large bucket in here, as you would expect. And then one last look at Audi's new A3. I like all these sharp lines. You can see all the hexagons and different straight lines. I think it really does come together to give this a little bit more modern touch, and it feels like a nice sporty compact. Up on the ceiling, we get a nice gray headliner. You get a manual sunshade for this sunroof. I really like how it's kind of a screen, so even with it closed, you can actually have the glass panel open and get all the airflow still shading you from that sun. You can see LED dome lights up top with the actual roof controls, and then our mirror up front. And then moving to the rear seat space, if I grab the door handle and open up the door panel is finished off just like we saw up front, and then you get all the same stitching back here with the smooth black leather. This can seat 3 people, you even get some stitching on the headrests. There's nets on the back side of these front seats, and you even get climate control temperature as well as vents, and then 2 USB ports. Moving back here, we can grab this and pull this down. We get a good size armrest with 2 cup holders. All right, so sitting down the back of the A3. So this is Audi's smallest sedan. We don't get the hatchback here in the States, but this is actually surprisingly pretty roomy. I'm 5'11". I have maybe a ½ inch of headroom, so I'm actually able to fit here. Not too bad. Driver's seat set at my height. My knees have some space. There's a little cutout behind the seats, so it's actually usable. Armrest is in a pretty good place, and I like this little side window. And then of course the center armrest is a nice touch. There's now these seats don't recline or anything, but this is actually not too bad for being a compact. We do get LED dome lights up top and even grab handles. And then now moving on to the trunk space, you have a button on the key fob, the one on the interior, or you can just grab the button back on the rear and lift it open. For being a smaller car, this is actually a pretty decent sized trunk, really tall ceiling and a low load floor. You can see how squared off it is. We get cubbies on the far sides. You can see we have some dealer accessories in here. However, we can lift up the floor. You get a spare tire back here with some equipment, and you even get a little bit of storage. And then up top, you even get an area you can pull down for some extra hooks. And then with the rear seats manually folded down, you can see just how much more cargo space you're gonna get in the back of the A3. The seats fold down nearly flat. You even get a pretty large opening into the trunk, and then even extra storage space all up in front. All right guys, so we are setting off now in the Audi A3. We're in dynamic mode and manual. So this obviously is the more basic entry-level 3 Series from Audi. Obviously smaller engine. The S3 is gonna have about 100 more horsepower, and the RS3 is gonna have another 100 horsepower. So I like what Audi does offer with the A3s. I've always been a fan, especially the S3s. But even driving in this little one, you know, it's a fun little car. You can just kind of zip around town. It handles pretty nicely, taking some sharp turns. The shifting is actually pretty responsive. When you hit the paddle, it'll upshift or downshift. So not too bad for more of an economical car. The pricing also pretty affordable to get into a nice little Audi. Really easily can just maneuver this car. It's very pinpointy and tiny. And just a nice little fun, like, city car. This is kind of what this car would be good for. You know, the brakes and everything do really well. It doesn't weigh much, so it's a pretty easy car to navigate. And then if we go ahead and just put us into the auto mode, or let's just go comfort mode and put us back into normal drive, it's pretty comfortable. I wouldn't say it's the most refined car. You know, it's not gonna be quite as nice as like an A4, but even in this, you know, cruising at 40 miles an hour, it's pretty quiet. Don't really hear any wind noise or road noise or anything like that. And it's roomy for being a compact. You know, I'm 5'11", sitting here with plenty of headroom and space, really good visibility as well, especially with those extra rear windows. Over your left shoulder, you can see right through the window. It's just an easy car to drive. And I feel like the things you touch in it are pretty nice as far as the materials. You know, the steering wheel feels really nice. I wouldn't say the nicest materials all throughout. There is a lot of plastic, the rubber material, so it's not quite exactly what you would expect completely from Audi. You know, there's a little bit too many pieces of plastic, I would say, in here, but they don't feel too bad. You know, this might be a little bit cheaper feeling, but overall, you know, if you're gonna compare this to the Volkswagen Golf, which is kind of the same platform as this is a much nicer interior. So I think the Audi is a better version. And again, these are more budget cars. You know, this isn't that expensive. So the fact that this is on par with maybe a fully loaded Toyota Corolla, and yet it's an Audi, it's a little bit nicer. You know, I think you are getting a lot from the brand and a lot for your money. I also like how just simple everything is in the interior. This is kind of cool. It reminds me of the old iPod days, but I think it's a pretty cool blend. So let's go back to dynamic, and we will put us into manual. It doesn't really give you full manual shift mode. It's peppy though. I mean, you get up to about 50, 60 miles an hour without really stressing the engine. I mean, it redlines over 6,000 RPM, and yeah, we're upshifting around 4 or 5. And I mean, it does what you want. It's got enough pep in its step to do what you need to do. And like I said, you can just kind of toss it around some turns. A nice little package, I would say. All right, so turning around to my perspective of the A3, you know, it's quick enough for what it is. I think it's a pretty good blend to get into a luxury brand without really stressing. You know, it's not an expensive car, 34 grand. That's like 10 grand below the average at this point. It's kind of just a fun city car. You're gonna get really good gas mileage in it, and it's a little bit roomier than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be super tiny, but it's actually a car that seems pretty well sized. Just giving it some gas. I mean, you're gonna get up to speed without really thinking too much. And I like the fact that you do get the drive modes. It's not crazy different. Obviously, you can only do so much with a 200 horsepower car, but it's nice how it just changes a few things to make the car relax a little bit and stiffen up just a little bit more. Actual comfort and everything, like the seats feel nice and comfortable. The headrest is really nice as well. You have all sorts of movements to them. So it does have a lot of the refinements that you're going to expect from an Audi. I think the interior is well insulated from the road around you to where you can just drive this, you can kind of forget about what's going on and actually enjoy just cruising in this car. And I like when you really look at the pricing and what you get, I think it's a pretty hard car to argue. There's something about the Audi that I feel like if you're looking at the budget versions of luxury German brands, somehow the Audi just does it a little bit better. It's not leaps and bounds better, I would say. They're all pretty similar, but this one just feels a little bit nicer, a little bit more sporty, and I am a bigger fan of it. I think the interior is easy to use, just simple, and it looks good on the outside. I don't really think I have any crazy complaints with the car. It is what you would expect it to be. You know, I'm more inclined to get an S3 or an RS3, of course, because I like the performance and the extra power. This one is slow for my taste, but if you're just looking for a very economical, nice little car, this is a car to get. My soon-to-be wife had an A3, a little bit older generation, but she had one for a whole year, racked up 10,000 miles on it as a winter car, and honestly, she loved it. Just, it's a very economical car, and yet you get the luxury. So It's a really good blend. I think there's a really large market for people who would value a car like this. And after driving this one now, the new generation, I've never been in the new one, I can see why this would be just a good little option. So I think that's then about it for the all-new Audi A3. If you're looking for an affordable, economical luxury car that's big enough and yet small enough, I think the A3 is probably one of the best ones to pick up. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content to come. And a big shout out once again, and thank you to Audi Greenville for providing this A3 for today's video. Take a look at their website linked below. So that is it for the video. I will see you guys in the next video.